Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is I Run Shib, or Shib for short. I appreciate you being here today. The goal of this video is to discuss tips and tricks for new players, or things that I think you should know prior to starting your journey or as you start your journey in Lost Ark. Let's get into it. All right, so you just got on the game, you created your base class, what your character is going to look like, and you got thrown right in. You're going to have the choice of doing a tutorial for each base class. You can skip it. It gets you to level 10, and then ultimately at level 10 is where you pick your subclass, but you can choose to skip it. If you do it, you get like a title, or I think you get a trophy ultimately for doing it. You get pushed into Tresian, which is the location of this guy with this angelic lady, Beatrice. No idea what they're going to call her in the West. She then gives you the option of picking your subclass. She's going to show all the subclasses on the screen and let you test out each one of them before you finalize what exactly you want to do. Granted, it's only going to let you pick the subclasses within the base class you created. If you picked a warrior, you're not going to be able to test out a blaster. You know what I'm saying? If you have any questions about my classes or what classes are in this game, please go check out the class video I just released, and I'll link it above right here. All right, so you picked your subclass. You're out here in the questing world. You're not going to be in a town that looks like this. You're going to look at a little more of a lame location, but what you're going to ultimately do is you're going to look for orange quests. So here, what the orange quest looks like, this symbol right here, that is going to be your main story quest as you progress in the game. So you're going to want to pretty much mainline orange quests until you get to a certain location. There's going to be yellow quests along the path as well. You want to make sure you pretty much avoid the yellow quests. You can obviously do them. It's just going to extend your time that it takes for you to get to 50. And getting to 50 and starting your dailies and your weekly content as fast as possible is the optimal thing you should be doing in this video game. So alongside those orange quests, there's also going to be guide quests you're going to want to make sure you complete as you move forward. These are going to look purple, and these are ultimately just going to teach you how to do certain things in town. You know what I mean? Whether it's upgrade your equipment later on, stuff along those lines. It'll just unlock the potential for you to actually do those things. So make sure you're doing those as well. Once you get to a certain part of the story, those orange quests are going to turn to light blue. Don't think you're off track or there's something weird going on. We're eventually going to reach a town called Artetine, I believe. Let me pull it up here. A location. That's when you're going to want to start doing those yellow quests, because you actually have to do the yellow quests as well to move forward in the story. But that's something that kind of it becomes apparent as you're playing. But just note, do the orange quests first. Every time there's a purple quest, make sure you knock it out. When you're in Sea and Water, there's some Sea and Water content that's purple too. Don't lose your mind over that stuff as well. Unless you're into that kind of stuff, we'll dive into that in a future video. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but people absolutely love it. Once you get to Artetine, like I said, then you're going to start doing those yellow quests. You can go back and do those yellow quests at any time, and the thing that I want you to know is you actually should do them at some point. It helps you finish your guidebook, you know, and unlock the full potential of those areas, which is something we talked about in the endgame content video, which I will link right here. But the main point of doing this is to get to 50 as fast as possible, like I said. So make sure you follow that order. Okay, so now talking exclusively about what those light blue and orange quests are, those story quests, they're pretty much just ways of getting you to the next dungeon, right? So you're gonna have a bunch of little step quests. Go meet this guy, talk to this guy. Here's the story behind what you're doing. Go to this dungeon and complete it. That is pretty much what the entire story is going to be. So it's just climb to the next dungeon, climb to the next dungeon, climb to the next dungeon, until eventually you get to 50. Those dungeons are going to have easy and hard mode each time. My personal opinion is that you should be doing easy, especially if you're just trying to rip through it, the entire time. You do have to do the hards at some point for the completionist. But me personally, like I said, unless you have a pre-made squad and you're trying to do these hard modes and look, you know, smooth doing it, get a nice team comp, you're going to want to just do easy. If you're trying to be Hardo Magardo in these dungeons and you want to fly through and get to 50 like the frickin' Flash, you don't have to fight a lot of the mobs. Actually, almost the vast majority of the mobs in these dungeons. There are specific parts that are going to give you a counter on the bottom to be like, you have to kill this many mobs or kill this many things. Other than that, you can rip and use your movement skills, like, or your movement abilities, to fly right through the dungeon and just dodge all those and get right to the end game boss, or the boss at the end of the dungeon. That is just something also you can know. I'm just letting you know. Not necessarily my recommended way to play, because it's a lot of fun to fight in this game, but you can do that later on in the game too. So if you played a lot of the game, I would suggest potentially dodging a lot of those mobs along the way. The next tip I want to discuss is battle items. I definitely talk about this in the endgame video. There are going to be certain items that you can use on the bottom of my screen. You can't really see it because my head is covering it. Let me move my head real quick. You see down here I have these battle items, these superior recovery potions. It gives me 45% of my max HP instantaneously, and this other item called a security module. There's a bunch of different battle items that you're able to use. They'll do different things, like security module adds that small shield as I'm running around. This gives me 45% of my HP. This will help me find a boss around the area. This will help me throw a dummy down that the boss will attack. These are things you're going to want to save. Do not use these on these dungeons. Do not use these when you're just fighting. Use your standard potions, like this master healing potion that just gives you standard amount of HP. These cannot be used in raids. These big spirit blessing bound, these super recovery potions with percent HP, these are things that can be used in endgame content. Do not waste them. If you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, check out my endgame video. Another thing that I think beginners should understand that I don't think they have enough of a concept on is the way skills work in this game. You're going to unlock skills all along the story progression pretty frequently, all the way up till 40, and then you're going to have a gap till 50. You're going to get your ultimate in another ability. You get two choices of your ultimate. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to call them in the West. A lot of people in the other countries call them awakening skills. If I were in the West, I mean, a lot of the time in our video games, we call them ultimates. So we'll see what they call them. But anyway, the way this skill in tripod system works is very simple and very interesting and unbelievably customizable. You're going to have multiple different sets. It used to be in Season 1 that used to have your PvP and PvE sets, so I labeled them that. But now, if you want to go check out my PvE video, there's full-on separate sets of skills. You get max skill points and max ability points to put into your character in your own PvP set, so it's all equalized. And you can go in and assign your skill points to the skills that you like. At skill level 4, you're going to unlock the first set of passive abilities or tripods to that skill. So, for example, I love using, here, let's go check out my napalm shot. Right now, it shoots this massive shotgun burst. Initially, that skill only shoots one time, and it shoots it straight down into the ground. But at level 4, I decided to put in intensive target. This makes sure that when I use this skill, it exhausts enemies. So now that I picked the exhaust enemies, I level it up to level 7. The next opportunity I have is Vital Shot. It increases its crit chance by 50%. But what you're really going to see is in the third tier of a lot of these skills, honestly, it can happen in any tier, but mostly in the third tier, the skill is going to change vastly. So I have the choice between Chain Explosion, is why that thing shot twice, or Dancing Flames, which it just allows the area to burn at the bottom for longer. But the way I kind of did it is this Chain Explosion shoots twice, double the damage, double the knockup, then leaves the explosion on the ground after. This is a lot of fun. Another example would be, see here on my flamethrower ability, I've got it so it's just a widespread flame, long cooldown. That's just the way I built this skill for now. It adds a shield over me. But instead of doing the shield, the widespread, and the extended time, what I can do is go to Blue Flame, which is a shortened time frame, makes the thing tick faster, fire range, increase the length of it, and then critical chance. And I could add something along those lines. So we'll save that quick just to test it out. Now it's a Blue Flame, shoots longer, shorter cooldown, more ticks of damage faster. So that's just kind of an example of how skills will change as you upgrade them and change them. All right, so the second to last thing to touch on is gold. I briefly talked about it in my previous video, but gold is very important in Lost Ark. This is a new character, has 829 gold. That is a freckle of gold. Gold is everything in Lost Ark. I've said this in the last video, but everything can be purchased with gold in the auction house, including cosmetics, your upgrade materials, weapons, stuff like that, pets, mounts, everything can be purchased with gold. Gold is almost the sole purpose of endgame. When you're doing a lot of this content, you're going to want to obviously get upgrade materials to make sure you keep climbing, you get to bigger content, new things, bigger bosses, more endgame, get into the serious raids. But you're also trying to just make gold. I mean, so as you're doing these quests, keep that in mind. If you see things with gold, please try to work to obtain them, because as you start stacking that, the better you'll be later on, and the faster you'll be able to get through everything, because you'll be able to purchase whatever you need. Keep gold in your mind. The final tip I want to discuss is that in the first town of Lost Ark, you're also going to find a pet as a blue quest. Get that done and knock that out, accept the pet and take it, because the pet picks up loot for you. There's obviously a pickup button, but in the later parts of the game, in the endgame content, there's so much loot on the ground that you're going to be spamming that button so much, it's going to be insane. So make sure you grab a pet, because they'll pick up that loot for you. You won't have to deal with it, and it makes the game so much easier, especially in the Chaos Dungeons, which we've talked about at the endgame video. All right, everybody. So that is a quick understanding of things I think you should know as a beginner of Lost Ark. in order to dive in and understand the game, or what you should try to keep in the back of your mind as you're playing through the whole story and starting to get to the end game content. I cannot wait for the Western release. If you like this content and you like the stuff I put out, please consider following my stuff. Go check out Twitch for me. All the links should be right below here. If you have any more questions or things you think I should add to this video that I missed, I mean, everyone's got their opinion on small things, please put them down below and I'll make sure to pin them or at least reply to them and make sure people see them. I appreciate you guys like crazy, and I love you guys.